Hey, in my Travel Wins podcast today, I'm lucky to have Nova Lorraine. How are you today, Nova?
Hello. How are you today?
Doing excellent. Having a wonderful day, actually. And now that I get to speak with you, it's even better.
Yes, you're adding a little supernova to your day.
That is such a cool name. And I want to change my name, but I can't now because you already got your podcast, Unleash Your Supernova. So.
Unleash your supernova. Yes. And I'm having so much fun with it.
That's awesome. I'll kind of go over your background real quick. You're a fashion designer. You're a founder of Raine Magazine, which is actually a really, I'm trying to think of the words. It's hard to explain. It's a digital publication, but you do print. And it's interesting that you went into that background knowing that a lot of it's going digital now. How did Raine Magazine start about for you?
Yeah, so this will be our 13th year, which is just so funny, in publication. And when I launched Raine, I sort of saw what was coming down the line. And this was in 2007. And I have always paid attention to trends. Being a fashion designer, you almost have to. And it's not just what's happening in clothing, but what's happening in society and politics and culture and everything around you, including technology. And so how we were consuming content was moving in a digital direction. And I wanted to be at the forefront of that and really sought out the technology and a partner to allow us to create a magazine that looked, felt, and get this, sounded like a real magazine when you would read it online. And because it was such a new concept, we felt that if we were able to deliver the offline experience online, then it would be easier to attract people to actually consume content online, which is hilarious now because that's all we do now. Yeah, exactly. But we also had a sense of sustainability and felt that we would be doing our part by not wasting a lot of paper as well. And so we launched initially as exclusively one of the first quote-unquote glossy magazines online. And then based on how we created this experience, everyone that came online assumed that it was in print, and they kept asking to order the printed copy, and we would say, no, it doesn't exist in print. And that was just really funny to see. And then someone got a hold of or came across the magazine and asked if we thought about actually printing copies for newsstands. And so we did a test run, and it was received very well. Barnes & Noble said yes, and that launched us into the print space. And we've come full circle to focus back on digital delivery of content and offering print on demand, and also moving into, again, staying at the forefront of how people consume content, moving into podcasting. Hence, as you mentioned earlier, my show, Unleash Your Supernova.
The best show out there.
No, yours is, of course.
No, not even close. Just trying to stay up with the supernova.
You're trying to stay up with the supernova. Oh man, it's definitely a play on words. As we know, nova, has is synonymous with star and the galaxy and something new, and supernova is the explosion of a star. And so we feel that we all have that supernova within us and the ability to turn into this magnificent, brilliant thing. And there are ways to cultivate that and to harness that and to bring it out if it's not already out. And so the show is about storytelling from some of the most gutsiest and talented people from all over the world, founders, creatives, innovators, to share their tips, their hacks, their journey to help inspire others to tap into that inner brilliance.
Wow. Time to check it out.
Yes. Yes, it's all about growth.
If I could take you back to 2007 and show you episode 36 where you're the cover girl in print, what do you think the 2007 Nova would have said about seeing you?
Oh my gosh. 2007 Nova would have been like, what? No way.
I'm not a cover girl. I'm not this.
The 2007 Nova launched Raine when her fourth child was about a year old, and the oldest child was about 8. So between 8 and 1, and I just had a store. I just opened a store just about 9 months prior, and I was still running, designing, and selling my collection, my high-end collection. So I had plenty to do, let alone decide to launch a magazine. No, trust me, like, it's the story of my life. I'm like, oh, I want to help people. And it was my 360 return back to my roots of psychology. And, once upon a time, I was pursuing my PhD in clinical psychology with the intent to help people. And that led to the decision of finishing early with my master's to study fashion design, which brought me eventually to Raine. But at that time, I can't say I was as bold about myself then as I was about my businesses and my ideas and my intentions. Yeah. And so I never would have thought that I would be on the cover. And for 2020, move and beyond, the goal is to find that inner bold. And we all are worthy of whatever it is that we aspire to be, want, have. And I really wanted to be the example of that, to start with myself and to really walk the walk, live the talk about finding that inner bold and sharing stories that will help others identify their worthiness of achieving their highest dreams.
I'm going to jump questions on you real quick.
Yeah.
Because of what all the inspiring and motivational things you just said. A lot of people I've talked to will say, "Oh, I would do that, but I can't. I have kids, or I have this, or I have my job." It seems like a lot of people come up with the reasons why they don't start the thing they should have started 5 years ago. What do you think made you different about? Okay, I mean, most people would go, "Okay, I've got a full-time job with a magazine. I've got 4 kids. I've got a husband. Oh, let me start a podcast. Oh, let me go from digital to print. What makes you want to just continue to do it better?"
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. And actually, I'm just laughing inside because the quote that I put up this morning on my socials is actually I can. And the whole premise behind that was that, yes, there are naysayers, but we tend to be our biggest obstacle, the self-doubt, the negative talk. And a lot of times it's out of fear of disappointment and fear of failure. And I think once we get past that, and then saying those little reminders, actually I can. When you come up with the excuses, I can't for this. No, actually I can. And then literally breaking it down into bite-sized pieces and just focusing on what is that one thing that I can do today, not the 10 or the 15 or the 20 things, but what is that one small thing that I can do today to get me closer to where I want to be tomorrow? Yeah. And I think by bringing it down into these micro bites of steps, habits, or actions also helps settle down that anxiety that creeps up when we think about moving forward or pivoting into a new direction or doing something new. But I really do think it's about that fear of disappointment. And I've had to deal with it throughout my entire life. And I'm not saying that I've figured it all out, but I'm definitely more aware of it and more intentional with my thoughts and more protective of my thoughts in terms of being more in a positive space and being my own cheerleader and really taking time to recognize the small accomplishments that I make and personalizing it, because sometimes it's like, okay, I did that, moving on. Okay, yep, whatever, moving on. And we don't take time to celebrate those small wins, right? And so because those small wins add up to the big ones, and it's really finding the journey that you're going to enjoy, not that big prize. Because let's face it, you can look all around you, yourself, industries, celebrities, wherever, and once they get that quote unquote thing they think they were after, they're still unhappy. So it's not really the prize, it's the journey to take you there. So if we focus more on that journey as opposed to the thing, because the thing is like, oh, forget it, you come up with 20 reasons why not to. But I truly enjoy the process of creating, hence why I have 4 children. I love creating anything, okay, clearly. And
you love creating
if
headaches.
I love creating, yeah, it's so funny. When I come up with a new idea, my poor husband, he's just like, oh boy.
I know the feeling.
But I do. I love ideating. I love working with others and collaborating. I love growth. I love helping others grow. And so that's the journey I'm on. And so it's much easier for me to make those next choices because the journey itself is what I'm focused on. And I do have my big prizes and my, the little checklist, whatever. But I think if we bring it back to why am I doing this? And am I going to enjoy the steps along the way? You're not going to enjoy 100%, but am I going to enjoy most of the steps along the way? Then you just focus on those little steps and then you'll eventually get there.
I think some of that just comes with age and wisdom. I remember in my 20s going, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? And everyone else has it figured out, but I don't. And
no one really has it figured out. Seriously.
So when both my daughters graduated college, I told them, I actually sat them down for lunch and said, look, everybody around here, look, there's 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. Nobody has it figured out.
That's right.
And it's not about how much money you make, because you can.
Nope.
You'll meet a lot of people that make a lot of money and they still don't have it figured out. So
absolutely,
it
so
is,
true.
It is part of the journey. Finding happiness in the journey, not I got it figured out.
Right. Because you know what, we are here to grow and evolve and change, and so those things that we want are going to change with us, and that's the beauty of it. But it could also be scary for some people. I mean, the generations before us were in more of a survival mode. My parents immigrated here from Jamaica. They're definitely in survival mode with 6 small children raising in a new country. And so you pick something that's stable, that's predictable, that's consistent, and then you find outlets to express yourself in other areas. But I think we're very fortunate that those generations have allowed us to be more flexible in what we choose to do and how we choose to do it. And I think it's up to us to take advantage of the prosperity that they've created for us.
No, I totally agree. The one thing, how much traveling do you do for Raine Magazine? And
I try not to think about it because then I get anxious.
Well,
I do.
And you've set yourself up for a little extra travel, having quite the commute. So
yeah. So I would say, and again, because I have 4 children that are competitive athletes,
yep.
And I'm a very involved mother, and I travel with them a lot. So balancing traveling for work and traveling for family has been a challenge. But I would say I'm probably on an airplane, cross country or international, at least monthly, and then interstate travel is probably weekly. So I'm 2 or 3 states away from where I live weekly. And that's typically for meetings or events. And I try to limit the amount of time I fly. But when I do fly, so for example, in December, I was on the plane 4 times. In November, I was on the plane, I think, 2 times or whatever. And juggling that around the holidays is always a challenge. And then I have some international trips that's at least 2 or 3 times a quarter. And so, again, I just try to go week by week just because I still get the guilt trips from my children, believe it or not, when I do go away. And but I would say weekly. I'm on the road at least once a week.
Is that something, when you started it, did you go, man, I'm going to be traveling a lot? Or is it something that just kind of came, i.e., if you're a musician or a stand-up comedian, that's part of the gig. Whereas, did you think that when you were starting the magazine?
Well, actually, my experience with my fashion company, which started about 5 years before the magazine, took me all over the country and to international destinations. And at the time when I started my fashion company, I had 2 babies. I had a 9-month-old and a 2-year-old. And thankfully, I have a great support system. My parents, cousins, and siblings which helped out a lot. But I was away a lot. And so when I launched Raine, one of my goals was to create a company that allowed me the flexibility of being home with my children. And so Raine from onset was started as a virtual company. And my senior editor was in Canada. My art director was in Massachusetts. My marketing manager was in Texas. And the rest of the creative team was in New York, including myself. And that's how we launched Raine. And so I've been operating this media and publishing company virtually now for 13 years. So that's all I know now. Yeah. And so the trade-off is I do have the flexibility of working from home and taking advantage of the various technological tools that are available to us. And back then I had to be very creative and really hone in on my communication skills to be able to create a creative product without the creative team being in the same space. And that only helped as the tools became more and more readily accessible to me to continue to grow and scale a virtual company.
Well, that's, I guess that's the advent of technology and how it's helped you still be a mom to 4 children, a wife to a husband that probably still loves you, and
hope so.
and run a company that's worldwide. I mean, that's technology. That's the beauty of it. But you're using it for the good instead of the evil, I guess.
Yeah, and I've always been a nerd, a geek, and I'm proud to say it. I have 4 brothers and a younger sister, so I grew up around that space, engineering, comics, sci-fi, all that stuff, but have always had an interest in technology. And so when we launched Raine covers 3 categories: fashion, which is a love and passion of mine; culture, which is equally so; and technology. And I feel they all are intertwined and interdependent on each other. And it's exciting to be at the forefront because we cover what's new and rising. And of those tools that can make what I do more effective and more scalable.
When you're traveling and moving around so much, how do you exercise when you're on the road? And are you consciously aware of what you eat, and are you trying to find healthier alternatives?
Yes, and yes. Yeah. But I will say it's so hard when I am home for a week and I get back into my routine, or a 10-day stretch. I'm like, yes! I'm able to really get back into the swing of things. And then, the trip, as great as it was, it just throws you off balance. So there are a few things that I've incorporated that allow me to still maintain a healthy lifestyle, because that's a big part of just who I am. And is I've come across and modified a HIIT training program for myself. So it's HIIT training, high intensity interval training. Yeah. So I've come up with about 7 or 10 exercises that I alternate through that actualize the different muscle groups, and that I could do within as little as 5 minutes upwards to 20 minutes, and am able to maintain the muscle strength that I'm looking for. And then in terms of eating, I've made some modifications because, when you're at business meetings or wherever, you're not as in control of what you can eat and when you're eating. And so I absolutely love intermittent fasting. So if I'm able to, watch the intervals of when I'm eating, it gives me a little more flexibility of what I eat. And I'm very selective in my carbs. I try to, do complex carbs, your potatoes, your yams, your rice, things like that, and selective in my sugars. So if I'm going to do sugar, it's going to be in a lava cake, a chocolate lava cake. Okay. And I try to avoid it everywhere else.
If you're going to go down that road,
I love my chocolate desserts. Absolutely love my chocolate desserts. I save my sugar for my chocolate desserts.
Yeah. Imagine, for me at least, because I'm the same way now. I mean, if I went back 30 years ago when I first started out traveling, selling and all that, and told myself, you're going to start worrying about fasting and, training and all the stuff I'm doing now and trying to cut down my carbs, and my wife's bugging me about the carbs because it turns into sugar. And the day, it was like, oh, there's a McDonald's, there's a Carl's Jr., there's,
Yep.
let's just stop, get some food, eat in the car, and let's get moving. But in the 50s, not so much.
You know what? My body rejects processed foods now, which is just interesting.
Yeah.
I think that your body starts telling you what to eat, what not to eat, and if you pay attention. And so I'll do and trust me, hot, fresh French fries is a weakness. Chocolate chip cookies, definite weakness. And I will feel it and suffer after the fact and go, oh, I knew that, And so it's just being more selective, again, with the sugars, with the carbs, and just it's making sure I'm drinking a lot of water and just little things. I mean, I have so many tricks and tips: apple cider vinegar, lemon in your water every morning, hot water as much as you can. There's all these little tricks that help.
Well, keep going. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the lemon in the water is actually a really good one because it tricks your body into thinking it's getting a different source of liquid than just water.
Yeah, it's so much easier for me to drink water when I have a little bit of lemon in it.
I'm gonna edit out the apple cider vinegar part of this so my wife doesn't remind me. She'll be like, I told you.
You know what? Put it in like 8 ounces of water, hot water. It's like drinking tea. You could barely taste it. And you just, add a tea bag. Yeah, add a tea bag. If you need to add honey, do some honey. But there's ways to get around it, around the taste. There's definitely ways to get around it.
Because it is quite the pill to swallow.
Yeah, I'm not really good with bitter stuff. That's the one thing I can do. Most other bitter things I can't.
I have a sweet tooth as well, so the bitter is like the exact opposite. I'll have to figure that out in my own brain. When you're traveling, and I mean, for me, like I know I use FaceTime quite a bit when my kids were smaller, so I could, even if I was on the road, I could talk to them at night or see what they're up to. I think that's all part of the great thing of technology, and that's a really good thing about your magazine is it's not just a fashion mag, although the photographers and the online presentation is beautiful. You also get into technology, and I saw you have things on homes and living and tips pages for entrepreneurs, and I mean it's kind of a full circle mag.
Yeah, it's really everything that I love. It's an aspirational lifestyle magazine created specifically for creatives and entrepreneurs. And it was, it's who I am. It's my lifestyle. I'm a designer. I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I'm a performer. And I also love creating businesses. And so when I launched Raine, there weren't many, if any, publications or platforms really that really served my interests and my needs. I was a Fast Company junkie, Entrepreneur Magazine junkie, Vogue junkie, Wired Magazine, but none of them really touched on the lifestyle of me and the people that I was working around and interviewing and interacting with. And I said there needs to be a media platform that doesn't involve gossip, that's not about who you know. It's truly about that talent and the passion that they have to give back to the world and impact the community. And so it's really about storytelling through visuals, through personal journeys, and to impact people, to inspire people. But in essence, it's almost like my personal journal diary of all the things that Nova loves and likes. And if it's beautiful, if it's high quality, if it's experiential, from art to technology to destinations to architecture to fashion, then it's going to be in Raine.
And it is. So you've succeeded in many of that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So congratulations. I as an entrepreneur and I'm starting to grow my podcast thing and all that, so I can only imagine. Like my kids are out of the house, so I don't have to think about that anymore.
Yeah.
That's all. And trust me, you'll love it.
It's my youngest is almost there. He starts high school next year, and I just got this like little pit in my stomach as I said that. I was like, oh, my baby. But yeah, we're not that far away from that. And so it'll be interesting. But I have a feeling my children are not going to be too far away from us. We're a pretty close knit clan. So
Oh yeah, I mean, my oldest lives about 4 miles away from me.
Yeah, that will be my life.
I'm hanging out with her on Saturday. Her boyfriend's going out of town, so
nice.
we're going away party. My youngest is in the valley, so she's probably about 35 miles away.
Okay.
And she's my podcast tester for all my equipment and all that. So.
Oh, perfect. See, that's sort of our plan. We're very, very much intermixed with all the things that we're doing and supportive of everything we do. So, I don't think they're going too far, even when they leave the house.
No, I hear you. How has it been balancing having 4 children? And both my daughters were athletic, played lacrosse and soccer, and involved in different activities. How have you been able to juggle that with?
It's definitely from the beginning. It's been a challenge, and I will say that I've not been on this journey alone. I'm very, very grateful to a supportive husband, amazing parents that were there for me, especially when the children were younger, siblings, cousins, friends. So I think for anyone that's looking to start a business, manage a business, especially if it involves a lot of travel, to really take time and invest in creating a support system. And, finding the schools and the activities and the people that will easily support that new lifestyle, and if that means finding a new home that's within 3 to 5 miles from the schools you're choosing, and finding activities that are, make your life easier, like whatever's in your control, be intentional about keeping the sanity as much as possible
exactly.
with what you're committing to. And, motherhood has always been my priority. And so I absolutely modified my business to support my involvement with my children's lives. But if you don't have that flexibility, then, find the helper, the housekeeper, the sitter, the driver, whoever, mom, dad, grandparents, to jump in when needed. Grandparents have been both sides of your family have been integral on the taxiing back and forth to this sport or that game or that meet. And so I think a support system has been very valuable for me. And then also being intentional with what I'm committing to.
Well, and making sure it's worthwhile, right?
Oh yeah. And for me, I'm one of those people that are like, you could have it all. You could do it all. I mean, I'm putting that in quotes. Okay. There are some things we're going to have to let go. There are some things. But I absolutely love the time that I invested in, my children and everything that they're doing. But there were times where I had to step away, and that's where, mom came in, or, cousin or auntie or something like that. And when I had to travel for fashion shows across the country, and, but just whatever you need to do to put in place to give you the peace of mind to be the most productive and creative contributor to your business or your project is what you need to focus on.
Enough said. Put that in quotes. Because that's exactly what has to happen to make everything else happen.
Yes, and I just have to add this to take care of yourself. Like find balance, and hopefully before the burnout sets in, because most entrepreneurs that I've spoken with and have interacted with have come across burnout at some point in their career, and not everyone gets past it. And so recognizing that it's mind, body, soul, mental wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, whatever that means to you, but really taking care of yourself and finding time for you, and, exercising and eating, healthier choices definitely makes a difference in your energy and your stamina and how, happy you are day to day. If you're feeling sick, it's going to be harder for you to put a smile on your face or finish a project or meet a deadline. And so those little things really, really add up to make a difference in keeping balance. May you have one child or four, like I have.
Yeah. It could be, you could have one, you could have none and not get things done, or have four and get a whole bunch of things done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think balance is critical regardless if you're a parent or not a parent. And if you're an entrepreneur or not an entrepreneur. I mean, our system is created for us to work. And so it's up to you to put you first, take time out for you and make that a priority in order for you to be the best version of you.
Yeah. You know, when you're traveling and you're so busy, how do you fill up your time? I mean, are you trying to get work stuff done? Are you relaxing? Is it because a lot of the travelers I've talked to some say I get all my work stuff done. A lot of people say I just want to relax. It's my time where no one can bother me. How do you?
Yeah, I would say for me it depends on if I'm traveling by car or plane. If I'm traveling by plane, I don't like airports. I don't like the whole process. I usually do leisurely reading. I love books. I love storytelling. So I'm either writing down story ideas, dialogue for my characters, poetry, or reading a really cool book. I love self-help books, and I love fictional and historical fictional novels. If I'm traveling by car, I love road trips because it gives me an opportunity to just think, without being interrupted. But then I enjoy podcasts and music, and then listening to music. And then I will also get business calls done too. So if I'm commuting by car or by train, it's definitely a mix of work and pleasure, probably more work. But if I'm traveling by plane, it's more leisurely reading and writing that I'm doing.
Yeah, and I always like asking that question because I love hearing how successful people fill up their time. So I appreciate you sharing that because, I mean, I'm on airplanes not as much as I was, but I'm driving all the time, and there's times when there's literally times when I just turn off the radio, I'll roll the windows down, and just drive for an hour and a half. No phone, no noise.
Yes.
And just kind of.
I actually get excited when I have a road trip by myself. I'm like, ooh, I could do nothing, or I could listen to music and whatever music I want to listen to, or whatever crazy story I want to listen to. I love audiobooks too.
Yeah.
So I definitely like road trips, and I take the train a lot as well. So I do it all: trains, planes, automobiles.
You got it all down.
I got it all down.
Fortunately and unfortunately.
Yes. But I think, for someone that's doing either or, I do think it's an opportunity to get some leisurely downtime in, activity that you may not be able to get in your regular work schedule or your personal commitments. So take advantage of the commute itself. We were saying the journey, right?
Yeah.
The journey to destination
That's
B or whatever. Yeah, take advantage of that time and make it really serve you. And so what if I do have to jump on a call on these road trips, or if I'm on the train, I kind of pick and choose who I'm speaking to. Because I want it to be, a fun conversation or an engaging conversation. So I save the more serious ones for, when I'm
office time.
In the office.
I agree. What's the best way or for people to follow you, Raine? What are the social media outlets that you're really using the most?
Yeah, so Raine Magazine, rain like the rain from the sky with an E at the end. So RAINE Magazine on any platform. So at Raine Magazine, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest. And then my personal is Nova by the Sea, just like it sounds, on Instagram, and Nova Lorraine on the other platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook.
Perfect. And obviously, I don't think you'd have a problem. Do you do any mentoring at this point, or is that something?
I do.
Okay.
I do mentor. I have a very strong internship program. Teaching is in my blood. And so however I can share information, and that's probably why I'm in media now and podcasting and why I write fiction. But I do love helping, guiding, sharing, advising, mentoring. And a lot of times I'm tapping into my psychology training when I'm doing that and coupling that with intuition and experience. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's a perfect mix. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I ate up your lunch hour, so.
No, it was good. It was good. And I love your energy. I love the topic of your podcast. It's something that most people don't think about. You know, you just do, right? You just, okay, I got to travel, and then that's it. But there's, it's a different lifestyle when you have to travel for work versus not. And I appreciate the knowledge you're sharing with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I hopefully we can stay in touch. I really enjoy talking to you, and I think you have the exact perfect message for the world as it sits right now. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.
Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Nova.
All right, talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.